so I'm nice and warm here in my house. I've got like 3 layers of clothes on. It's just so cold. So anyway, working on this wall is gonna warm me up. The first thing that I did with this wall, it was brown paneling. It was really bad. So I papered over it with this paintable wallpaper. And it's really thick. It almost seems like handmade paper. When you make handmade paper, it's really porous and pulpous, I guess, if that's a word. So when it gets wet, it tears really easily and you have to handle it very carefully. Don't ever hold it out at the ends. You gotta hold it in the middle so that it doesn't tear. But if it does tear, the good thing about it is that pulp just kind of goes right back together. So anyway, I got this whole wall wallpapered, and this particular pattern is kind of an Italian fresco. I really like it because it has a nice repeat match pattern, so it's really easy to put it up. And then I painted it with its first coat of paint, which is Mindful Gray. And then I added a little bit of darkness to the Mindful Gray and made up a wash, and I washed the whole thing. And to me, it just doesn't seem dark enough. It doesn't seem like a dark enough contrast. So I'm gonna mix up some iron ore, wash, and then I'm gonna do it all over again. So the way that I do my wash is I mix 1 cup of iron ore with 1 cup of water and then a 1/2 cup of glaze. And if you have a really large wall, then you would want to double that recipe, and you'll want to be sure to make up enough to do your whole wall, because if you have to stop and mix up another batch in the middle, sometimes it doesn't, for whatever reason, it doesn't turn out exactly the same. So be sure and mix up plenty for your whole wall. And if you change your recipe, be sure to write it down, because that way if you have to make up some more, you're more likely to have an exact match. So here we go. I'm going to mix up the iron ore wash, and we're going to start washing the wall. Mixed up, and so now I'm going to paint the glaze on. You could use a small little 4-inch roller, but it gets kind of drippy, so I like to use an older paintbrush too, and it really allows you to get in the cracks, and then you're going to wipe off the glaze with a rag and then keep rinsing it out so that your rag stays clean so that it's wiping it off. Now, if you use a terry cloth rag, I use this for my hands, but don't use this when you're doing this painting technique, because those little fibers of the terry cloth will go down in the crevices and pick that paint out. Well, you don't want to pick the paint out. You want the paint to lay in the crevices, and then you want to wipe it off with a flat cloth, like this is an old sheet rag, so that it leaves all the darker paint in the crevices, and then you're wiping off just the top parts with your flat cloth. So I'm going to start in the corner. I'm going to work from left to right, and you can see that I've taped all the way around too. I kind of have this love-hate relationship with tape. If you use regular tape, it's super sticky, but then it's too sticky. And if you use the tape that's not supposed to be so sticky, then it doesn't stick at all. So if I use the regular tape, I kind of try to put the tape on my jacket or a shirt and peel it off so it's not quite as tacky. And then if I use this kind of yellow tape, I have to press it down really hard and use my fingernails and kind of burnish it on there. So anyway, we're going to start with the left and demonstrate how to wipe on, wipe off your wash. Through the time-lapse video was how I'm not making a straight line down like this as I'm working down. I'm going back and forth, kind of leaving a jaggedy edge. That way, if it kind of dries, you won't have this dry, dry, dry pattern of this straight line. This way, if this kind of dries, it will still look kind of fresco and jaggedy, but the glaze is in the paint to keep it wet. So while you're in the middle of this wall, you don't want to like run off and take a phone call or go fold a load of laundry. Once you start, you really want to keep going and get it all done so that you keep this edge wet so you can keep working with it. Because if it dries, let's say that this dries and then you come over with your next layer and it goes over on that, then you've got a double layer and then it's darker. So you have to keep all of this wet and working really fast. And then I'm also taking my tape off as I go so I can kind of clean it up as I'm going, because if you wait till the very end to take your tape off, sometimes it's set there long enough that it's dried on and then you have to paint over your trim or whatever. So I just kind of do it as I go. So I'm gonna keep moving on along here.